My constituency is far more rural than its name suggests, with many farms around the towns of Otley and Yeadon, the villages of Bramhope, Poole and Arthington. I visited many of them and seen a range of practices as well as many farms in North Yorkshire over the border, particularly after the pandemic. Properly supporting our nation's farms is essential to meeting our nature and climate targets. The government must do more to support our farms, deliver more sustainable food production and implement environmental land management strategies. DEFRA's agricultural transition plan is a step in the right direction towards a more resilient and prosperous agricultural sector, one capable of delivering sustainable food production while meeting nature and climate targets. The offer 2024 does include some welcome components, including an expanded set of actions, an average uplift in payments of 10%, increased payment frequency and a commitment to double the amount of agreements offered for more complex and targeted environmental land management. The review and refresh of payment rates should serve to better reflect the value of public goods provided by certain types of habitat and management actions. However, there is no publicly available data to demonstrate how these payment rates have been calculated, which is crucial in building transparency, evaluating progress and securing value for money. DEFRA needs to publish scheme payment methodologies, as well as a clear payment strategy which forecasts expenditure on different scheme actions and the outcomes that are expected as a result. One of the main weaknesses of farming transition today has been DEFRA's reliance on low ambition, free choice actions within the broad and shallow elements of ELMS. The design choice intended to maintain maximum flexibility, but it risks undermining the environmental effectiveness of the scheme, with evidence suggesting that previous similar approaches have not secured the identified objectives. Over time, the SFI needs to evolve to enable the delivery of a whole farm approach, ensuring that a minimum level environmental action is delivered as part of a joined-up and cohesive scheme. We need both a degree of flexibility to account for individual circumstances and to maintain a minimum level of ambitious environmental delivery. For farmers to truly be supported to increase sustainable practices, we urgently need to address the green skill shortages for farming. Successfully integrating environmental actions into the heart of farm-based decision-making will be a new concept for many. With over 300 actions to choose from, many farmers need the right support to deliver the right actions for their farm and the environment. Access to expert, high-quality advice will be critical to delivering higher quality environmental outcomes, business benefits and farmer buy-in. Farmers need to have access to ecological expertise and support for farmer-to-farmer peer learning and knowledge exchange. There is simply a lack of people and skills to help land managers do the right things in the right places at a pace that meets our climate and biodiversity targets. As the rural economy changes, there is opportunity to develop more skills in managing natural capital like stone walls, hedgerows, natural flood management and habitat areas. It's a great opportunity to support the current and next generation to have the skills to manage a landscape for food, nature and climate. With a focus on managing hedgerows, better for carbon capture and biodiversity, new skills will be needed in the management of bigger, bushy hedges. With increased focus on tree planting, there will be greater need for jobs in managing woodlands and the byproducts will be produced over the next 20 to 30 years before timber is ready to be felled. We need a national nature service for young people to introduce them to these green skills and the job opportunities that follow, as well as working closely with agricultural colleges and universities so they can provide the courses and qualifications for the sustainable farming transition. I've spoken many times about the essential role of hedgerows and coppicing to our agricultural heritage in protection of our natural environment and landscape. Hedgerows are essential carbon sinks to help us meet our COP and Convention on Biological Diversity commitments. CPRE research found that expanding the hedgerow network by 40% would create more than 25,000 new jobs over the next 3 decades, and that for every £1 spent on hedgerows, return of as much as £3.90 being expected from the associated ecosystem services. I've heard from farmers they want more hedgerows on their farms, but the barrier is a lack of a skilled workforce. I went to see Richard Blamley's farm in my honourable friend's constituency of Selby near Tadcaster. He is the chair of the National Farmers Union Environment Forum. He had planted hundreds of metres of hedgerows and it's great to see the biodiversity increase with the associated carbon benefits. He said that he wanted more hedgerows on his farm, but the barrier was the lack of a skilled workforce. That and other areas of green skills need to be tackled. We had to see an expansion of a hedgerow network. He also highlighted the need for the availability of nursery stocks. Why are there so few local authority nurseries now? In Leeds we have the Area, which provides plants for the whole city as well as raises revenue for the council. DEFRA and DLUC should give seed funding for many more such nurseries. He also highlighted the need for continuing payments for sensitive maintenance. He rightly pointed out that good hedge could last centuries, being a store for carbon and a hive of biodiversity. We need to invest in those skills and skill-based activities to see the necessary hedgerow planting and maintenance to meet our targets. Hedgerows produce crops and provide food for people and animals. When I attended the Convention on Biological Diversity, the UN Biodiversity Conference at COP15, government agreed a new set of goals for nature over this decade. Unfortunately, the UK is one of the most severely nature-depleted countries worldwide, and we've heard successive government ministers admit that this is the case. The Natural History Museum's Biodiversity Intactness Index, probably the best indicator of global biodiversity, has revealed that the world has crashed through the safe limit for humanity for biodiversity loss and placed the UK's 53% score in the bottom 10% of all countries, well below China and last in the G7, not a record that any of us should be proud of. The Conservative Environment Act 2021 target on species abundance, which they are forced to concede by opposition amendments, promise only to halt the decline of species by 2030. Just halting the decline or getting a net zero for nature is not good enough. Our ambition should be nature positive. And farms and farmers and the green transition, I will give way to the Honourable.
You must, of course, be aware, though, that the government also set a target to increase species abundance in the period after 2030. And actually, it was only through close analysis of the data that we realised that was probably the best that could be achieved, even if we acted immediately.
I mean, I think I want to agree to disagree with the Honourable Member. I think the fact that we're baselining so low makes it an easy target to meet, and I think that shows a lack of ambition. But you know, let's have the general election. We can test this more accurately going forwards. Just to finish, we need to focus on improving our rewilding, reforesting and biodiversity, in which all of these natural landscapes are part. And we need to fully support our farmers who are part of this transition. We will not get there without their support, their hard work and the land that they work on. Thank you.